Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and Tucker Carlson interviewed Putin, and I've got 3 or 4 clips here. There may be a little bit of overlap, but it's important that you hear all of this. But before I play it, I want to remind you, what have we been saying on this channel? We're not just in a global war over the world reserve currency status. It's a digital war. There's a reason that Gary Gensler is going after Ripple. That's what's so exciting about all this, is that this is a digital war. Gary Gensler and Jay Clayton, they were sent by who? Maybe China, I don't know. That's the theory. But they were sent to stop Ripple. I mean, everything Gary's doing is to try to stop Ripple. But Gary's a bad guy, and everybody knows it now. I'm going to show you just how everybody's calling him out publicly now in a minute. But watch this.
We had no such intention. It was decision of the United States to restrict our transactions in US dollars. I think it is complete foolishness from the point of view of the interests of the United States itself and its taxpayers, as it damages the US economy, undermines the power of the United States across the world. By the way, our transactions in yuan accounted for about 3%. Today, 34% of our transactions are made in rubles, and about as much, a little over 34% in yuan. Why did the United States do this? My only guess is self-conceit. They probably thought it would lead to full collapse, but nothing collapsed. Moreover, other countries, including oil producers, are thinking of and already accepting payments for oil in yuan. Do you even realize what is going on or not? Does anyone in the United States realize this? What are you doing? You are cutting yourself off. All experts say this. Ask any intelligent and thinking person in the United States what the dollar means for the US. But you're killing it with your own hands.
I think that's a fact.
He's exactly right, and that's the irony of the situation that we're all in, is the U.S. leaders make no sense. They're working against our own country, and these guys make sense. It wasn't like that when I was growing up. When I was growing up, it was like these were the bad guys. Now, it's like they make sense, and
how have sanctions
it's like an awakening here, folks, that we've been lied to.
You know, to use the dollar as a tool of foreign policy struggle is one of the biggest strategic mistakes made by the U.S. political leadership. The dollar is the cornerstone of the United States power. I think everyone understands very well that no matter how many dollars are printed, they are quickly dispersed all over the world. Inflation in the United States is minimal. It's about 3 or 3.4%, which is, I think, totally acceptable for the U.S. But they won't stop printing.
Exactly.
Experts say this. Ask any intelligent and thinking person in the United States what the dollar means for the U.S. But you're killing it with your own hands.
I think that's I think that's a fair assessment. The question is what comes next, and maybe you trade one colonial power for another, much less sentimental and forgiving colonial power. I mean, is the BRICS, for example, in danger of being completely dominated by the Chinese economy in a way that's not good for their sovereignty? Do you worry about that?
Well, we have heard those boogeyman stories before. It is a boogeyman story. We're neighbors with China. You cannot choose neighbors just as you cannot choose close relatives.
You know, that reminds me of the conversation Brad Combs told me he had with David Schwartz. And David Schwartz said something similar recently. But when Brad Combs he asked if XRP could be a world reserve bridge currency when we were at Swell in Singapore in 2019. And David Schwartz walked out of the room. Brad Combs thought he had made David Schwartz mad. And David Schwartz, he said, did I ask something? Is that a crazy question? Should I not have done that? And David Schwartz says, well, who else is it going to be? China? In other words, nobody trusts China. As long as China's communist, what countries are going to trust them to have a world reserve, be a world reserve bridge asset? They wouldn't, but they might trust a neutral digital asset to be the bridge. Now, then we got this. So meanwhile, while all that's going on, the CBDCs are being built. What are they building them on? Who's been working with over 50 central banks across the world on CBDCs?
And this is happening all around us. Today, well over 100 foreign nations, representing over 95% of global GDP, are exploring various forms of central bank digital currency, or CBDC. A BIS survey suggests that by 2030, there could be 15 retail CBDCs intended for everyday transactions and 9 wholesale CBDCs used for transactions between financial institutions. At the same time, global stablecoin usage continues to increase dramatically. Stablecoins settled over 11 trillion in on-chain transactions in 2022, almost surpassing the payment volume of Visa and reaching 14% of the volume settled by ACH and 1% settled by Fedwire. The supply of stablecoins has grown from less than 3 billion 5 years ago to over 125 billion today. And of course, decentralized digital networks of value like Bitcoin and Ethereum continue to grow in notional value, computing power, and distributed ownership. Thus, whether or not any one country deploys central bank digital currencies, our fellow men and women will be dealing with CBDCs, stablecoins, and crypto in the century to come.
And something to bridge it. And I want you to take special note of what he just said. In the century to come. This is why I'm here. This is why I've been so fixated on XRP and Ripple, the company, is because this is not about green candles. This is not about whether or not XRP has gone up in value to this point. I've been here since 2013. If anybody should be angry about how XRP's price hasn't moved, it would be me. But I'm looking at the bigger picture. I believe that this is a once in a 100 to 200 year opportunity. I believe that all of these regulatory hurdles and all of these roadblocks that have been in the way are naturally a part of what you would have to face if you're going to have something that is a once in a 100, the next Bretton was a once in a 200 year Federal Reserve 2.0. Of course, it would take a while. Of course, you would run into all types of political roadblocks and things and the Gary Genslers of the world. Of course, that's what you would deal with. That's how big I've always viewed the opportunity. Then this Ripple's mentioned here, talking about central bank digital currencies.
Like we are into the know your wallet, know your transactions. So not only know your customers. So we are into that space, and also like we are working with Ripple, XRP on their CBDC platform.
You're damn
and
right
we
you
are
are.
consulting small countries, not like India. So they are very advanced. We are already into the CBDC platform. We are consulting small countries as one of the advisory paper submission and everything on the CBDC, how they can move to CBDC. So, okay. So coming back to CBDC, like most of you have heard about this term called CBDC, and many of you are in your pilot app, maybe like if you're using SBank.
Okay, I just wanted you to hear that clip. So then there was this article in Fortune, SEC may be forced to declare Ethereum a security after controversial new launch. And you had this where Promethium was launched, okay? SEC has effectively conceded ETH isn't a security. But the Promethium guys said that ETH would be the first digital asset security to be on their platform, which is very interesting. Make no mistake, Gary Gensler is all up in this. Now, this guy went on, I don't have a clip ready or anything, but he went on to Thinking Crypto's show. And he was totally downplaying his ties to the CCP. I'm going to call BS on that because I saw him when the spotlight wasn't on him, and I remember what he said. And here's the clip down here. It is the smoking gun. And Truth Labs, who's Boring Sleuth, he says, tune in at 110 and tell me Promethium isn't eager to sell you their Wang Zhang deep CCP-tied crypto. Why is Gary Gensler giving this company access to our markets? Now, here's what I want you to pay attention to, folks. He's right. At the 110 mark in this video, I told you that this is what this was when I put out this clip.
And they get it.
If you listen to what this guy says, it doesn't matter what this guy says. You're going to know, because if this is the CCP backdoor that he's basically saying it is right here, you're going to know because we'll see it happen. So it doesn't matter what he says. You're going to watch it real time. Listen to what he says they're going to do.
Weird because qualified essentially is tacit approval of the offering. When the SEC gives its tacit approval, its qualification, that token becomes free trading and available to all investors. And again, that's super important for this economy to flourish. How is Promethium going to list companies on its ATS? Where are we going to get companies?
This is it right here, folks. And you're going to know it by what they do. Not what they say, but what they do. Listen to who their issuer pipeline is going to be. It's a CCP backdoor based on what he's describing here.
A ATS, meaning an exchange, an alternative trading system, which is the equivalent of an exchange, needs an issuer pipeline. You need product by which to list on your platform. The second part of our issuer pipeline, there we go, is Wangzhang related entities. Promethium's lead investor and technical co-founder is a company called Wangzhang Shanghai Blockchain, which is probably the largest and most capable blockchain company in the world. And they've invested in a multitude of companies that are part of their network that they anticipate listing on the Promethium platform to do an issuance and then to list on our secondary market. And what's wonderful there is that the quality of their projects is immaculate. It's a wonderful product pipeline.
So what you're really looking at here is Gary Gensler allowing a backdoor for CCP companies. So stay tuned on that. Now, I want to draw your attention to this Stuart Alderati tweet. He says, who else would hire him? He's talking about Gary Gensler. He's politically toxic. He's a serial loser in the courts. His staff has been caught lying to judges. His agency's Twitter account was hacked in the most embarrassing way. And his sponsor at MIT quit because of close Epstein ties. Did I miss anything? Now, folks, I'm about to go in DAIXRP.com and I'm going to tell you what I think this is by Stuart Alderati. Okay? I'm not going to say anything more than that. I'm also going to show you what's coming that might be the game changer to turn the tide against Gary Gensler that's coming up imminently, okay? Those two things we're going to talk about. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. We're going to talk about what I think Stuart Alderati is saying right here. Here we go.